and looking at how someone who's a serial killer, although she could have, you know, done other things. You know, he picked a serial killer because obviously the crimes were all brutal and violent and senseless, except in her twisted mind, and except for what I'd done. But but focusing on that was really it was the celebrity that evolved out of these killings. And it was really pointed at the media saying, look at what we do. We make celebrities out of murderers.
Only in America would that happen. Can you imagine that happening in a poor country? It has to be a rich country. Do you think that could happen in Albania? I mean, no. It's the excess of capitalism, which has always interested me. We have to put up with the limits of capitalism. This is one of them. Limits of free speech, limits of capitalism. And I'm for it to have the basic freedoms. It interests me. I'm not for it, but the excess and the outer limits of free speech and free society, when things are wrong, you should be against, is what interests me. How do we have to accept these to put up with the good stuff?
Well, oddly enough, it's like life imitates art. It really wasn't so much kind of that. I mean, Female Trouble really tells that story, and it has certainly come to be the truth that now murderers are celebrities. How many jail hags do we have? We have women that appear to be quite normal and quite certainly educated, so on and so forth, that want to marry, the Zodiac killer or the any other number of people that are in there. Well, whatever floats your boat.
Did I see you in Hinckley? I was there. Thought so. My husband thought I was crazy. But
She is.
The people that used to go to trials, when I would see them, I would go to like across the country and go to the Hinckley trial. And then I'd go to Angela Davis. And there would be special people there that I would see that toured the country doing this that were not journalists. And they were the top crime hags in the country, really. And we never showed our cards about what we thought about the case. That was sort of unprofessional as you waited in line. And I took my mom once to the Watergate trial. It was the hardest of all to get in was that, basically. Because each seat had earphones where you got to hear Nixon say asshole and stuff and say the tapes, which no one had heard the tapes yet. And my father was furious, saying, watching people's misery, going out of the way to watch other people's misery. And we went, and it was like a crime Woodstock. Patricia Hearst's trial was like, I didn't know her then. And she just rolls her eyes and says, I went to jail because of people like you. When her trial, you had to wait sometimes 2 days outside in sleeping bags. I remember her birthday, the fans bought her a cake. She didn't know any of this. She was so, going through a pretty bad time. And so she doesn't have a lot of humor about that, and I wouldn't probably bring it up. But certainly being in this movie made fun of that because who wants to be a famous victim? And I think she got sick of it. She never signed an autograph till she made a movie with me, and she still refuses to sign any wanted posters or any of that stuff. And I don't blame her. Same way Tracy Lords doesn't sign porno. It's correct political sense. It's movie star correct. Is that you don't sign things when you didn't want to be famous that got to be famous, basically.
let's go.
And it turned out to be amazingly timely because as the O.J. Simpson, that had not even happened before we filmed Serial Mom. And so I don't know where you were when that happened, but I had turned on the TV and there's this low speed car chase going on. And I picked up the phone right away. I called John and he said, oh my God, can you believe it? We just filmed this a couple of months ago. How is it possible? Talk about life imitating art, and the film hadn't even been released yet. And there he is being followed by a line of police cars. And we'd done Kathleen's scene where she's being followed to church by all the police cars. And it really did turn out to be not so much of a joke.
I look at Serial Mom as one of my best movies, one of my broadest movies, the ones that most everyone likes, even the fans that only like Pink Flamingos and the ones that only like Hairspray. They all seem to like that one, too. I think a lot of it has to do with Kathleen Turner.
The great thing about John, and certainly the great thing about Serial Mom, is I think it was way before its time. his humor was, honestly, 10 years before its time. And if that movie was released now, if it was remade now, I think it'd be a huge hit. I mean, there's just the culture is caught up to John Waters. And I think that's a testament, really, to the kind of filmmaker he is.
Crime and Celebrity, I think, is going to continue to be and continue to roll on bigger and bigger and bigger.
I went before there was court TV. Now everybody's into it. It peaked. There's no really good hardback books about true crime anymore. They're mostly all in cheap paperbacks now. It used to be a genre that it did peak because it got to be so many of them that every time there was one murder, somebody wrote a book about it. And there were trials where the defendant became a star, and they usually were defiant, theatrical, and didn't care what happened, partially insane. If you want to not be famous when you kill somebody, kill yourself. No one will remember the crime, even if you kill, well, even Columbine, what are their names? Most people can't remember. So basically, if they had had a trial, there would have been way more movies about them. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that the fascination with crime, infamy, and fame became the same in America. And that's what Serial Mom was about. And now it's not even, it's basics for comedy. It's just true.
How do you plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
In the beginning, shocking is what got you noticed. At this point with Serial Mom, I don't think we were worried about getting noticed. It was really just about doing a good comedy.
Making major motion picture was very cool. But we'd all grown up together learning how to do this. By the time we got to Serial Mom, which was a real movie with a huge star and a not totally subversive script like Pink Flamingos or Female Trouble, it was, you had all the tools you wanted, all the lights you wanted. And it was such a contrast from, 20 years before when had 4 lights and a 16 millimeter noisy camera.
I don't think John had anything to prove. I mean, we did those kind of movies. We were really, growing ourselves and maturing, and we just wanted to be more legit and still have the crazy edge, but in a show that, could be on regular movies or on TV or, something more approaching to normalcy, but still have that little John insane touch of suburban satire.
You can't wear white shoes after Labor Day.
That's not true anymore.
Yes, it is. Didn't your mother ever tell you? Now you know.
No, please. Fashion has changed.
No, it hasn't.
The movie looks great. It was a different time. It's hard for me to remember when I made these things anymore. They're like, you joke, which one do you like better? They're all like your kids. I've said that a million times. This was a kid that had some money to go to a good school. We had the tools to make it. It wasn't a juvenile delinquent, but it was, it turned out to have graduated from college and kept its edge. Let's put it that way, if I have to put it in the context of all my children.